Good morning, comrades. You're listening to WHIV-LP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. Jeff here on the show. Robert is back. What's up, Robert?
I'm here. It's 9 a.m. New Orleans time. I am usually not up this early on a Saturday unless I'm going to the gym. But no, here I am with you guys, and it's very nice to be here. So thanks for waking me up so I can get stuff done.
Oh, you're welcome.
On a Saturday.
This show is your alarm clock, my dude.
Absolutely.
Anyway, we have returning champion also back on the program, Lisa Lou, who aka Lisa is Learning. You can find
her.
Yes.
I'm in my final form. I look probably very different than I did the last time. I bet I had blonde hair and an eye patch the last time I was on here.
Yeah.
And now I am a former professional cosplayer. I'm just constantly changing my look, even from a day-to-day basis. I'm now cosplaying a hot librarian, so.
Yeah. The librarians are going to be very angry about this one.
Yes. It's because I'm stealing their culture.
Yeah,
their culture is not my costume. I know.
I don't know.
I'll deal with it
behind you like that.
Yeah, there you go. I also still have my picture of Hassan behind me. Damn it.
No, I
forgot to take that down.
Good thing it's radio.
He's Hot Girl of the Week. Okay, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, just keep that up there and make a new Hot Girl of the Week frame. There you go.
Yes.
Anyway, how you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing good. It's been a time. It's been a week.
Yeah, it sure has. And I wanted to talk to you because you are probably one of the foremost authorities, I think, on trying to make sort of like left politics processable for normal people. And I think that's something that we need to, that's like one of the big holes in the like American left's game. I know that like there's been a lot of folks on from DSA that have been going on national television lately and kind of just like some of them have been doing, better than others, but then, there are certain periods where people will just sort of like assert their values for a mainstream or even like a right-wing audience and just sort of like dig their heels in. And that's sort of like the whole, like they just expect people to just swallow that, instead of
I'm so glad I've come across as the normie whisperer. I don't feel like I have the authority to do that, but I was a normie even just during Kamala's campaign. So not that long ago, like 2 years ago now. So like, I guess that is why, and I like to tell my story as to what got me involved in politics, what has switched me to a socialist within the last 2 years, and really seeing this yearning from normies to actually understand what is going on and try to get to a point where they understand what's going on. And yet I have seen lots of leftists not meet that moment, right? Like know how to, it's not that the issues, the policies are great. It's the communication and the messaging that has a tendency to be off. And fits into a lot of stereotypes about leftists of being academic and judgmental and patronizing. And so, yeah.
Well, actually, we can just sort of like get straight into it because when you say that is exactly the box that the sort of like the establishment of the Democratic Party and the right wing want to put sort of like any kind of person that supports Medicare for all or anybody who supports ending wars or any kind of like way to move like politics forward. And there's also this sort of like terminally online component of it. And I think this did play a factor, not like the biggest factor, but like it played a major, not a major, but maybe a minor factor, a big enough factor in a close election in the loss of Francesca Hong. Like when she makes comments about like, years ago, and maybe she didn't walk them back, strongly enough or whatever it is, her response to like things about like Thanksgiving, things that are like not policy issues. And then that just starts this whole left discourse about this extremely marginal issue, as opposed to focusing on the things that we're actually trying to get done here. Because like, regardless of how people feel about the Thanksgiving thing, and people are going to talk about it, of course, but like, it doesn't have to happen like all out in the public for everybody to see. And it also isn't a policy. Like, even if she was running on a like cancel Thanksgiving policy,
that's what they painted it as on Fox News. Like, they legitimately kind of went with that. Like, that's one of her. They literally said that was one of her policies. Was canceling
but
Thanksgiving.
Like, even if she was, like, there's no chance that's going to be enacted. So, like, why are we arguing about this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. The way that I saw Fox News painting it was that she was wanting to. That one of her policies was canceling Thanksgiving, and then I think the thing that really hurt her in that way. Now, I don't know how much that actually played a role in why she lost. I think in a lot of ways it just had to do with electability. But even if you're going over that narrative, what Fox News painted it as is then they would play clips of her responding to it. And she gave like a very wishy-washy answer at one point that was very much like, I'm going to tell my story of me making Thanksgiving, and not really answer the question or like say, hey, that was kind of silly of me. Let's move forward. Like, let's move. She kind of like didn't give that answer that I feel like Zoran or Angie Nixon would have given, which is like, hey, how about we actually, not focus on this?
Well,
and then,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. The other thing is that they ask like, what is your favorite holiday? And she's like, I think it's Thanksgiving. And they would always play that clip to be like, look, she goes back on what she says.
Flip-flops.
Like, yeah, she flip-flops. So.
I would even say beyond that, like, that's all of that was like, a mess or whatever. But also, I do think like there is a component of like, this person is a leftist. Look at all these leftists arguing about all this dumb stuff amongst one another. Why would we want somebody that represents that as our governor? You know what I mean? I think that there is, and if it's not like a direct awareness that this is happening, there is sort of like at least a meta awareness that like, oh, these people are friggin' idiots.
They're unserious. That's the belief.
Exactly.
Is they're unserious. They're not actually. It's the whole Kamala is for they, them, and she's not for you kind of concept, which was. So the thing is like I sit here and I want to roll my eyes because I find it all so stupid. But at the same time, like, there is a way to probably combat that I think some people are not meeting the moment.
The only thing I would say to sharpen that is that, like, yeah, I think that's all true. And like, you can't ever, when you look at, Abdul Sayed or Zoran Mandami, like, you have to stay on message. Like, you can't let the narrative turn into this boomer slop conversations about Thanksgiving. But is the reason why she didn't do that, was it a flaw in her approach? Was it a flaw in like how she ran, or was there a component of, because whatever's going on in the polling right now and it's so off, she was running like it was hers to lose instead of being aggressive the whole way through, and not running like she was behind and also behind in a semi-open primary. And now we see the numbers come out where a lot of, Republicans were kiki-keying about, how easy Jessica Hong is to beat. But then there was a significant number. Now we see that of Republicans were crossing over and not voting in the Republican primary and voting against Hong. So it's like she didn't run with the, burn the boats, I'm behind by 10, not up by double digits.
Right.
Like, mindset you need to have is you run as a leftist.
Well, and I just covered it yesterday on my stream that there was a fake poll that put her ahead, and they legitimately came out and said it was fake. That they used it as a social experiment.
Just a prank, bro.
Yeah. So like in that case, like, yeah, you shouldn't be running as if the every poll is real. You need to run as if you are 10 points behind no matter what. And yeah, I think that is obviously the issue. And I think like that was very silly given that Abdul Al-Sayed was so close and yet his campaign was so like chef's kiss perfect. It goes to show you that people will, even when you have the most perfect campaign, when you are amazing. I'm sorry, I'm a pretty big Abdul Al-Sayed fan. They can still use the electability argument against you and almost make you lose over it. So it's a very hard egg to crack there.
And also specifically with her, also like you can't count out the fact that she's a Korean woman, and she lost by 3,000 votes. You don't think there's 3,000 like people that are just like, I don't want a Korean woman as my governor. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sure. And that was the sort of like the decision that they made.
Oh yeah, I'm almost. I mean, the numbers have started to come out, and we can't get it'll never be definite, but the amount of exit polling of like people who are Republicans, like I said, who crossed over. But like 3,000 is nothing in a state.
Right. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I guarantee you that was it, because that's the only thing that made any sense to me. I was like, what is going on here? Except that these were, and like, it's not a thing. We were watching, I don't want to bore the radio off, but we were watching another political commentator. I was anyway, who's younger, who was like, oh, that didn't happen because it was brought up to them. And I was like, I feel like, oh, I'm old now because I remember not saying it didn't work, but it's not something out of the ordinary. It's Rush Limbaugh was always about Operation Chaos because like Fight Club was a big cultural thing. He was like, Operation Chaos, vote for Hillary. If you're in an open primary, vote for Hillary Clinton against Barack Obama. Like he was telling his audience to go vote for Hillary Clinton because she was going to be easier to beat in the general election. And I was like, this is not like some crazy theory. Like they've done this, or at least attempted it before.
Yeah.
And it's been around long enough. Like Rush Limbaugh's been dead for like 10 years. That idea has been floating around long enough for it to actually take hold and for people to take seriously.
Well, yeah, because the right believes win no matter what. It doesn't matter if you cheat. They are not playing with like caring about bipartisan and reaching across the aisle and all this. They don't give a shit. They don't care. Sorry.
Okay. Your old governor in Minnesota used to have a really great saying, Jesse Ventura. He would say this on television for the wrestling shows: "Win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat."
Oh man, I can't get over how now that I'm older, how based he seems.
I love Jesse
and
Ventura.
It's like funny to me that I grew up conservative in Minnesota, and so everybody was like, Jesse Ventura, the worst governor, and now I'm like, kind of based actually.
It's like it's not even cheating though. It's just like when you have a binary choice between A or B in an election, you don't have either jungle primaries or so what am I looking for, Jeff?
Open primaries?
Oh, not open. Ranked choice voting.
Ranked choice voting.
You don't have ranked choice voting. Like this is the weird Vicini Princess Bride math that people do in their head all day of just like I cannot pick the candidate over here and there because I know that's what you want, so I must pick the candidate over there, and then I'm going to pick the candidate. Like I've done it. Like that's my worst shame. Like Jeff and I said.
Well, and that's why the Democrats don't really have any policies, is because they seriously just have to run on, like in the primaries, they just have to run on electability, the argument for electability, and then once it comes to the general, they just have to do lesser evil voting.
No, that's 100%
harm reduction.
In the Ohio presidential primary in 16? No, not 16, like 2004, I guess. I voted for Hillary Clinton over Barack Obama, and I hated Hillary Clinton back then because I was just like, well, there's no way this guy can win. Like he can't. And I just did it because as some kind of, and I'm like, I'm sitting here now, decades later, I'm like, that was internalized racism and also just stupid. Just it's a primary. Vote for who you want. Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't have control over this thing like you think you do. Just
explain to me, just because I want to pretend I'm dumb here. Why would that be internalized racism if you were assuming that other people were too racist to vote for Obama?
Because it shouldn't. Because it shouldn't matter. Like, it just like my idea that a black man named Barack Hussein Obama, who's already a senator. Like, what else does he have to prove? He's already a senator in Illinois. So it's like, what do we like? He's not like I'm not voting for the guy outside the convenience store standing on a soapbox screaming to the pigeons. Like, this is an established guy who's already, he's not even like, I could even understand, and I'm not saying it's not correct, it's wrong, it's logically, but it is at least logic to be like, oh, this DSA thing is an insurgency. It's if you've never heard of the DSA before, you're just a Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer liberal. You'd be like, yeah, they have great policy, but like the party's not going to support them. This is some kind of like takeover attempt, like whatever. I can understand that. For me to sit there and be like, oh, Barack Obama can't win when he's like mainline, like Democratic Party supported by the banks, like he's supported by capital. That there's no other reason that I thought that except it was racism. Like there's just none. Like it makes no
he's
sense.
Absolutely qualified.
Yeah.
There's really no reason other than, I mean, and that's kind of the thing, is that people always use that excuse of being like, well, I'm not racist, but I know that other people are, therefore I don't think he's going to win. And I think that then it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy in believing that people are that stupid.
I mean, that was a huge thing though with black people. Like,
yeah. Well, just like with like
Jim Clyburn.
Yes, Jim Clyburn. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of like times when it's been women too, or like recently I heard a comment about how, oh well, AOC people aren't going to vote for a woman of color, so I just don't think we're ready for that. And that to me is like,
that's a little bit different, and I'll tell you why. Because like I think where you hear that kind of thing come from, you hear that come from the halls of the belly of the beast of the actual Democratic Party. It's the same kind of mindset of just like, oh, you can't vote for Bernie because he's too old, but we'll throw up Biden and like he's just fine. And like, okay, to where like when I say like black people were like wary on Obama, like as just as a senator trying to be president, that kind of wariness was like, it was literally like people in your water cooler going, oh man, I like this guy, but you know, his name's Barack Hussein Obama. And even if he gets elected, they are going to kill him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, and like, that's stupid. Like that seems silly to me now. Like, because I'm just like, who's going to kill Barack Obama? Freaking Morgan Stanley?
Yeah.
Walter Grumman? Like, no.
No, yeah.
One of the things also, like, this is like I can't get over how cynical that kind of stuff is, because like I mean, I'm old enough to remember all the way back to 2020 or 2016 when it was all like, I'm with her in 2016, it's Hillary's turn, it's time for a woman president, Yasle, all this other stuff. And then in 2020, you know, it was all about Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren. Like Bernie, they gave Bernie, you know, crap for allegedly saying the exact same thing that mainstream Democrats are saying now about somebody like AOC. To which, like, if Bernie did say that, he would be wrong. Probably a little bit messy on the part of Elizabeth Warren to make that public, but also like that was the narrative back then. But now that the possible front runner for any kind of a democratic, socialist, left flank, whatever movement is very likely to be a woman of color, AOC, a Puerto Rican American woman, it's all of a sudden like a woman can't win. It's just like that narrative is only rolled out cynically, I find. Like that's just what it is.
I think the thing that I've had to get over in my brain when trying to target normies, let's go back to the discussion of normies, is that normie doesn't equal cis white man.
No.
Like normie can be anybody. And yet I think that that's the thing, is that people are like, well, cis white men are racist, therefore we cannot put forward a woman of color, when in reality, cis white men only make up 30% of the population. That means there is 70% of the population that is possible to, that are women, that are, and like, I don't even know if that counts LGBTQ men, like who, I mean, once again, they're still cis white men.
There's a lot of very conservative gay.
Yes, men. That's what I'm trying to say. So you got what I was going there. But like that being said, with that means that like AOC,
Dave Rubin comes to mind.
Maybe 30% of the population, if they are that, like, let's just pretend that all cis white men are too racist to vote for a woman of color. There is still 70% of the population that you could possibly win over by appealing to their needs, appealing to their policies, and like appealing to them with policies that you can win over. And actually, they might even like the fact that they are a woman of color. Like the reason that Kamala lost isn't because she is a woman of color. It may have played a role for some people, but it's because her policies sucked, right? Like that's the issue.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. So never let a liberal tell you, never let anybody tell you that. But I feel like most cynically, you're going to hear that from, you know, MS Now liberals with that kind of argument. And I would go back to, we were just talking about Obama. Like, I'm sorry, Barack Hussein Obama won Ohio and Florida twice.
Right.
Sorry. Like that breaks everything.
Yes.
And that I honestly think is like the people who are listening to us in New Orleans are probably like, oh my God, they're clutching their pearls and they hear something bad about Obama. Please get past that. But for like the people in our circles who are just like, we can have this thing about Obama, but just like as a objective reality, like as a separate the man from his policies, that they put that liberalism allowed that man and capital got behind him was probably the biggest boon for the socialist rise, because it just broke all convention. And I don't care what he did or didn't do. I'm just saying that he was a black man named Barack Hussein Obama with a black family, unapologetically black man. Now it just opens the floodgates for it's like, no, you can't tell me, like, you can't come to me with electability politics argument anymore about anybody. And the same thing goes for Trump. Like the idea of just like, oh, well, you can't say this, or you can't be this aggressive, or you can't do that. Trump is president twice.
If anything, actually being that aggressive and being that out of pocket is something that people are attracted to now. They're looking for authenticity. And sometimes people see it as vice signaling. Like they can see authenticity. They can confuse that with vice signaling or whatever. But like people are actually looking for that now. They want that. It's like we're living in a very different time than we did even 100%. 10 years ago.
They're stuck in the Clinton era. Like these people are stuck in like 1993, where they sort of just think they can like run on platitudes. They can run on like vibes. Or I mean, if you remember 2020, you think you fill out the coconut tree, all this like this kind of like weird Yasle Kamala stuff. She's in a it's funny. Like looking at the marching band that Kamala Harris had when she was like, you know, doing one of these like rallies or something like that, and see that exact same thing replicated in Michigan for Mallory McMorrow, a white lady doing the exact same thing.
It's like, oh my God, you really haven't learned anything.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like two losers, basically.
Yeah. For basically the same reason.
Yes,
for
exactly
being milquetoast and not having any real policies. People are not going for the whole vibes thing anymore.
No.
And that's why I think like a Gavin Newsom isn't going to win because, I mean, first of all, I think his vibes are horrible.
He looks
but
like
then
a vampire.
On top of
like
that,
not a cool vampire either.
No, like a greasy, gross one. Like, ew. But people, I think in general, and that's like coming back to a discussion that we've had. We as like, you guys were in my chat at one point having a discussion about Abdul Al-Sayed having Haley Stevens on the campaign trail and how that's kind of like we were, you know, going back and forth on this.
That's something we disagreed on, and we can actually talk about that now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't know if you want to, because obviously, yes, I disagree, because I do believe we're living in a different time where people are much more critical of this, like trying to appeal to the mythical moderate, and it makes people very wary of a leftist candidate who does that. I mean, we use the example of like, well, Obama did that. He had Hillary as part of his campaign, even after all of the racist campaigning that they went through in the primary. But I just think that I think about me back in that time and how that kind of behavior is what made me not trust Barack Obama. Like as a normie, seeing that, I was like, wow, this guy really is like saying things, but he's not actually doing the things. And I feel like with Abdul, if he, now I want to just clarify or like give the whole story that he got on, was it MS Now, I think, and said that they asked him if he was going to bring Haley Stevens on the campaign trail. And before he even answered, I was like, I hope he doesn't. I hope he doesn't bring her on the campaign trail. And he answered saying, you know what? She is welcome on the campaign trail. And like, I understand that answer on MS Now or CNN. I think it was like CNN or something. I understand that answer. I understand that you have to play nice. I mean, I'm learning that as a Twitch streamer. Just learn to play nice. Like, you've got enough enemies. You don't need to make more of them. But I think there's a very big difference in, you know, taking someone's endorsement and having someone on the campaign trail. And obviously the establishment sees that as that, because like Hassan Piker has endorsed a lot of candidates, but they didn't see it as a threat until Abdul Al-Sayed brought him on the campaign trail. There is something very different about bringing someone on the campaign trail, bringing them up on stage and kind of saying, hey, this person represents me. And given the like Haley Stevens and her AIPAC donations and her I see Israel in my dreams comments.
What gives?
I think that would be really, really going against everything that Abdul Al-Sayed stands for to bring her up on stage. But, you know, that's where I don't know if you still disagree in that way or if we agree, but.
I absolutely disagree. Like I've said here and like, it's just, how do you get there? Like she has a constituency. She just does. And so you just have to deal with that. Their vote counts the same. you need them. It goes to what we first talked about. If you're a leftist, you have to be running like you're running behind at all time. Forget as much as I, badmouth Obama here on this show on a daily basis. I also said, like, I do not like Barack Obama. I think he was a bad president. The Abdul al-Sayed campaign needs Obama so bad.
True.
These things are not in
conflict,
they're not in disagreement with each other. It's just a material reality. And I think if I'm gonna really play put my tinfoil hat on, I think Obama has already made the boss call, because he said that, Abdul said that he talked to him already. I'm like, this is the best thing for his campaign. And within days, you've got James Carville, who is like, I'm leaving on a slow boat to China, at any moment. Now he's out here
everybody got in line.
He's like, AOC is a nice lady. He's like, Abdul, he'll be a great senator. I'm like, Obama called you and told you to shut up, is what he did.
Right.
I'm sorry, you just can't tell me that. He is the kingmaker. He just
I was gonna say, it stinks that there is this person who is the kingmaker, and yet he doesn't actually, wield that power for.
I thought Hassan was the kingmaker.
Apparently not. But anyway,
can I just make my point in real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really quick, I hear what you're saying in terms of this sort of muddling of message and this having these people who have said, Haley Stevens has said genuinely horrible and racist things about Abdul Sayed. That was a super racist campaign. What I view it is essentially bringing in, quote unquote, even though we were talking about, you were saying on your stream, I don't want Abdul al-Sayed to kiss and hug Haley Stevens, and I'm just he's not going to do that. And then literally the next
you
day
literally did
it happened on stage. But I see it less as sort of Abdul adapting to their program, and more almost of them bending the knee, to talk Game of Thrones terms, I guess.
Yeah,
they're essentially submitting to his directive, because
except that I think that I was justified, because then on Monday the following week, Haley Stevens gets on Fox News and basically spends the whole time trashing him. So in the end, I'm just kind of I feel like I've been valid in my concerns here. But one of the things I will add to this is that if you look at the focus groups, if you listen to the polling as to why people voted for Haley Stevens, there are three major reasons. One, Islamophobia. They thought that Abdul al-Sayed was just inherently sexist, that he was un-American, whatever. Ridiculous. You can't really win those people over. I guess even if you hug and kiss Haley Stevens on the campaign trail, you're not going to win those people over, right? Secondly is electability. That was actually the main one, is electability. Secondly would be better things aren't possible. Even if Abdul al-Sayed gets into office, he won't be able to accomplish the agenda that he wants to accomplish. Therefore, it would just look bad for him to run. And then the main one being electability. Now, Haley Stevens, by losing, has completely eliminated the electability argument, because now, of course, he is the lesser of two evils harm reduction candidate. So anybody who voted for Haley Stevens with the hope of doing electability now will vote for Abdul, if that's what they care about. Yeah. And then same with the better things aren't possible. It's a harm reduction vote. So in that case, I just don't really see where the benefit of Haley Stevens comes in, other than you did bring up the fact that she has a lot of rapport with unions that Abdul does not have. And to get them on board. But like I've said, I think you can do other things to get those people on board rather than bringing Haley Stevens up on stage. As long as she has, like I said, I think playing nice and letting her endorse him, not denouncing her endorsement. I think that should, in my opinion, be enough. But you guys, you've been in the scene way longer than I have. I don't know really what I'm talking about. I'm just going from this.
You know more than you think you do. But I just will say that the bringing in the campaign is kind of some of the language that a lot of these sort of stuffy older organizations think, and the endorsements from unions doesn't always members vote on them, but they're often done by representatives that are been in charge of unions for a long time, and they're just playing the safe game. So there's a lot of this sort of conventional BS politics that you're just going to have to see. UAW seems to be a little bit different right now. They're a lot more aggressive in terms of who they're endorsing, and that's just based on the leadership style of that union right now. They've gone in a really like a really aggressive direction in terms of like pushing for universal policies ever since the Fain administration started about 4 years ago. Let me pause for station ID really quick. You're listening to WHIV LP New Orleans 102.3. This is your weekly Good Morning Comrade. We are talking with Lisa Luhu, aka Lisa is Learning. She is joining us to talk about basically I do want to zoom back out, if that's okay, into the sort of like general appealing to normies, like politics for normies sort of deal, because that's really what her bag is, what she talks about every day. So just to sort of like zoom out and talk about like these larger concepts. And I know we talked about this a little bit prior to the show that we might bring this up, but the idea of woke one. So like there's a major discourse happening, and I think that some of it's part of the reason that this is difficult to talk about, because some of it is good faith and some of it is bad faith, and it's hard to parse who is what without getting like super duper into the weeds. But like a couple of weeks ago, the one person who's running for we talked about it earlier, AOC, who's like essentially the most prominent Democratic socialist in the United States, and she's the most likely person to run for United States president as a left flank Democratic socialist, whatever candidate, said essentially like woke 1.0 was crazy, and like there was just a huge, massive, unbelievable flood of discourse surrounding it, and like I was just sort of pulling my hair out at the way that not every single person, but like a lot of folks were talking about it, being that it was like, because the idea of like woke 1.0 is a very messy, broad concept. It's a vibe for an era. And so what some people are doing is they're talking about like some of the, I call it like hall monitor, like leftism, like where there's just like a lot of like specific language, and this was also a very specific time, 2026, and I'm not against like language for like to be sensitive and to be like essentially be respectful of folks and all this other stuff, but there was very specific language in how that time was communicated. It was a very specific period, especially after 2020, when people were just like locked down in their houses, but there were also extremely like radical ideas that popped up through that time, and like there was essentially like a thought that like AOC was essentially like throwing all of it under the bus, as opposed to making very specific sort of like
it was a specific answer. It was in regards, and that's the thing, is that there are lots of people who misconstrued what she was saying to mean all of woke one, which was the BLM movement, Me Too movement, and then all of the actual woke, like the things that people now consider woke. I mean, in my opinion, when people talk about woke one was crazy, they're talking about the word policing, the hyper fixated on little things, almost being counterproductive, demanding that
cancel Thanksgiving.
Cancel Thanksgiving. That was basically what it was about. Like, and like to a certain extent, I think that wanting to cancel Thanksgiving is actually a based idea. And it was definitely a time where people would express every single idea out loud. And I'm glad, I hope, that we enter an era where we don't need to express every single thought that we have every time we have them. Can we please not do that? That'd be great. As a Twitch streamer who spends 6 hours a day live on the stream, maybe I need to take my own advice here. But still, it's just like one of those things that anyway, there was definitely this misconstruing of basically saying that she was basically saying that all of woke one was crazy, when in reality, here's my thing that I will take, is that she was, by saying that, was appealing to what I think is actually generally a very privileged crowd. I ask the people in my life when they hear woke one was crazy, what do you think that's referring to? My sister, who's like 28 and is like a very normal normie, like she doesn't participate in any politics. She's like, oh yeah, when I think of woke one was crazy, that is when people were getting weird about fandom, like when you weren't allowed to ship these two characters because one was 19 and one was 16. And I'm like, okay, that's just chronically online fandom culture. Like that just happens no matter what. That doesn't have anything
related. I do think it's related.
Yeah. Okay. Then I asked my mom, and so my mom, who's a boomer, and she was like, oh, when I think of what woke one was crazy, I think of when you actually justified and thought it was okay that people were looting Target. I'm like, she's like,
also, hi, Mom. Thanks for listening.
Yes. I was like, maybe. And she was like, I think that went probably too far. That is, woke one was a little crazy. And I'm like, I was based. You can think otherwise, whatever. When I think of woke one was crazy, I do think of like the times where people decided to cancel Critical Role because they did a partnership with Wendy's at the time, even though there was nothing. Like, Wendy's is just your typical evil corporation. And it's like, okay, so you just you had them canceled for doing this event, even though they're trying their best to actually have good representation and be very open-minded and trying to have great diversity in their content. And then you're still going to get angry at them anyway. So like, but I have to realize that like my whole family is white. When we think about woke one was crazy, all of those things are very just like culture-based, silly, pedantic things. They're not actual BLM movement stuff. They're not, well, maybe the looting Target maybe had something to do with that, but like that's just me being an anti-establishment punk. I'm going to feel that way no matter what. That wasn't woke 1.0. I still feel that way. Like, that's not just woke 1.0. So, but yeah, that's kind of what I just wanted to say, that like, for some people, that is what woke one and what's crazy. For other people, it's the BLM movement, it's the Me Too movement, and those are actually incredibly important. And so, but I don't think that's what AOC was referring to.
And so much to the point where like she actually credited Chi Ose, who stands for a lot of those things in a, I think, much more of an aggressive way than she even does. Like, that she even presents herself as doing. Like, Chi Ose says that all the time just to talk, and he basically clipped it, and she also responded in the context of,
and just a reminder, Chi Ose is a black man, right?
Yeah, black queer city council member.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, very
in New York City.
Yes.
And so like he's basically, if you look on, obviously I know you always tell people to log off Twitter, and I don't think you're wrong. It's just the disease that I've had since 2008. So, but he basically will find something silly from that era. He'll quote tweet it and just say woke one was crazy, and that's the context. That's the context of like what's going on here. And like that was sort of like the joke that she made on television, and everybody's mad at her. You know what I mean? It was just like one of these sorts of things where it's like, guys, chill out. Like she and she did answer a question about like and it's probably not going to be very much different than the way that Angie Nixon responded to a very similar question about like the idea of abolishing the police or anything like that, which is like the concept of defunding the police is like a really good concept in terms of like this needs to happen, but how you get to the point where you can actually do that, you can't necessarily always have that on the tin. You know what I mean? That can't be like necessarily the slogan or the banner. I think Angie, and we can talk about Angie Nixon in just a moment, because I think she has crazy normie appeal.
Yes, she does.
But like, but
can't believe she slipped under the radar for so long.
Shout out to a buddy of mine who I work with, who has been working on her campaign, and they really blew it out of the water in there. But just to finish my point, there does need to be like in terms of, and maybe you disagree with me on this, but like the message of abolish the police, while we can't be like totally rejecting it as an idea, that's not going to be like the forefront flagship policy.
No one's running on that as a campaign promise right now, or a policy.
And I guess my point here is that like when people are distancing themselves from that slogan and not necessarily the idea, when they can contextualize it, similar to when we discussed some of these DSA folks just digging in their heels on some of these ideas from the DSA platform on Fox News. I think that like contextualizing these things is absolutely necessary. You can't just like say like all of these things that like what the right wing and what the establishment media wants you to do is just say, yeah, I just stand by this idea completely uncritically, or I don't want to contextual it for this massive audience that I'm in front of, because if I don't do that, then they can just be like, oh, this person's insane. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that honestly, we're asking the wrong questions. Like, was woke one crazy or not? I think that's a throwaway question. I mean, it's worth a discussion, but I think the actual question to ask is, did woke one advance the ball or not? And like that way you can be like, hey, this is the things that actually work to advance actual real dialectical materialism. And these are the things that didn't and need to be either sharpened or abandoned. This whole thing is like, was it crazy or not is a red herring.
Right. Very true. And like, that's kind of what woke 2 is supposed to be, in my opinion, at least in like my community, is that we have bigger fish to fry than just what words we use. I think there's lots of people who thought we needed to start small and then move towards something big. Whereas actually, I have the opinion that we need to start big and then work on words and like those little culture changes. Let's get the overall. Let's prove that the let's do a proof of like life, proof of policy, proof that it actually works, and then go from there. But I don't think everybody agrees on that.
Well, no, and this is sort of like, and this is might be where some of this, conversation gets a little bit not among us, but like maybe controversial, is that there are, in my opinion, and it's not like a perfect like Venn diagram, two separate circles sort of situation, but broadly speaking, there are leftists that care about making an impact and changing things, and there are leftists that are very, very concerned with sort of like maintaining the purity of ideas and ideals. And like these two sort of like points in the dialectical are sort of like constantly at war. And at this point, we're seeing some. Well, we are seeing some synthesis manifest, but like it's happening. It's not going to be like a perfect synthesis. It's going to be more of like one side is going to win this battle. You know what I mean? Right. At least more than the other one.
Well,
it's a very tense thing, even within DSA. Like when you have like that like one of the things that manifests within the organization right now is like the most controversial question is like whether or not to endorse AOC for president, when like somebody's going to run for president and the only potential democratic socialist that it is AOC. So where's the controversy here? But there's just like a lot of like hang up around that, because like associating with her is like a violation of principles. And there's a lot of stuff that she's not done that's not great around Palestine. And there's a lot of things that like Robert has tons of critiques of her for sure. And so do I. But like I think we can all agree that like if there is somebody that is going to be gotten behind, and also it's an opportunity to build infrastructure, organizing infrastructure nationwide in every single state, because that's how primaries work. That's another thing that like is a benefit of this, because infrastructure lasts, and if that infrastructure is not answerable to a individual, is what we talked about with Mike from PA. If that infrastructure is not directly answerable to an elected, like Obama's case, then that infrastructure can continue post whatever election it is. Robert?
That's the thing, is that you were. Oh, sorry. You can go ahead.
No, you're fine. No, that's exactly my thing. I think that if we're talking about electoral politics, I think people put too much stake and they put too much weight on electoral politics as far as their whole like political diet. It's just one more avenue. So it's like if a politician, like if Abdul Absayed like does something that like it lets me down, like if it doesn't cross one of my red lines, like Obama drone striking American citizens, then I'm just like, all right, whatever. Like that's how the sausage is made. Like I get it. Like you've gotta appeal to everybody. You've got to, make sure that you can secure a next term. Like I'm not going to get everything I want. The idea we can't, here's a better note. Like we as leftists cannot live in a world where we make fun of people for being in a literal Trump, like the Trump cult is real, but then we expect like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to just, we're going to put all the power of the party onto her, and we think that she's going to lead some kind of like revolution of the proletariat. Right. Like we're doing the same thing at that point.
Right.
So it's very like, what are we talking? And I'm not saying be cynical. I'm saying the elections are not the end all be all. Just, vote for who's the best and don't just stop getting your feelings about this.
I'm always on the fence. Now, I'm new to all of this. And so for me, I've had to decipher, like, listening to other people and learning, because I am Lisa is learning. I have had to learn that a lot of people, so you had said earlier that everybody was upset at AOC for saying woke one was crazy. The truth is from what I could tell, the people who were upset with AOC for saying that already are people who don't very much like her and already aren't really into electoral politics. It's like they use that as an excuse to continue to not like her. And therefore, I kind of I do take their opinions and take it valid, because I definitely think we should always be critical of politicians. But if you don't believe in electoral politics, then yeah, it's no wonder you don't trust that politician and you don't like them. You know what I mean? It's just kind of yeah, okay. I think it's completely valid. And I'm kind of on the fence where I really do. I've always one of the reasons I didn't pursue political science at a younger age is because I do not believe in electoral politics. I understand, I think I'm on the same page as you guys, where it's yes, I understand the value. I understand it's necessary, but politicians are always going to be corrupt and evil in my eyes, and it's hard to trust them, and that's fair. You know what I mean? So in that case, like I said, I think it's one of those things where I had to I'm learning to listen and be okay, but does this person is it a good faith critique of AOC, or is it one where it's based on the fact that they don't believe in electoral politics at all?
Yeah, and again, there's even if you don't think power can actually be reformed by these by these structures that exist, and that's a totally legitimate position that I happen to disagree with. But even if people regardless, in people's minds, it's proven by the fact that Donald Trump but regardless of it, in 2016, Donald Trump won the presidential election with a minority of popular votes, but the election carried because elections at least have a certain amount of legitimacy in this country to normies, right? And so one of the things that is a benefit of this is that a great way, and Hassan says this actually himself, a great way to get a message out and provide political education is by engaging in this legitimized structure in the United States. And it's a perfect opportunity for political education because America is obsessed with elections, right? It's also a good opportunity to, and I talked about this earlier, but I'm going to repeat myself, to build organizing infrastructure that can be used for other things. So DSA doesn't just do elections. DSA does organizing. Oh, we have a labor commission, the Democratic Socialist Labor Commission, where there is support for unions that happen across the country, strike support, help organizing. We're involved with the Emergency Workers Organizing Committee, EWOC, which is literally in my work as a union organizer, we've associated with EWOC because they will essentially be volunteers that come in and help to essentially field leads and do basic first level organizing of campaigns to make new union members in this country, make unions stronger. It's something that when we're noticing that after Bernie, after AOC, and this is completely undeniable, by the way, after Bernie, after AOC, and after Zoran, there have been massive boosts in the membership of an organization such as DSA. That's essentially, first off, that's funding for the organization itself. Two, that is a bank of people that you can reach out to find any of these other things besides elections that you can you have a list of leads to follow up with and be hey, you want to do union work? Hey, you want to do mutual aid break light clinics or whatever the hell it is? We can figure that out. But you're here, you volunteered to be a part of this. We're going to activate you one way or another, or not. People can just be a paper member and that's fine too. But that's one of the things that I think is when people think about elections, DSA gets stronger after every election victory. So there is a reason to engage with that.
Yeah, and I actually think that, as a content creator, I actually have come to realize that content creators probably have almost as much influence over such organizing as politicians. Mike from PA and Hassan Piker have been listed as some of the biggest recruiters for DSA known at all. Like they actually, that Mike from PA just said that last night, and that he's been actually contacted to be told this, that they are huge recruiters for these organizations. So like, I think that that's why I put so much emphasis and I have so much demand for content creators to actually take that seriously and actually understand their role in this movement, and not just be like a grifter. That there's more to this than just
they exist, of course, but you know.
Yeah, exactly. There is such thing as grifting to the left, apparently. It's very rare, but it can happen.
Also not
apparently.
very lucrative. Like, what are you doing?
I know, right? Like, no, there's no money. There's no. You are really silly if that's what you're trying to do. It's the whole point. Plus, I mean, even if you do make money, you're supposed to just wear a barrel with straps and live in a hut if you do end up.
No. What you got to do, what you do is you make money, and then you go, oh, this is why I left the left. And then you get like the Patrick Bet David, like
yes, true. You have to go through that. Otherwise, you're a fake. You're a poser.
It does seem like it's just grifting with extra steps when you just be a Nazi right from the start.
Right.
Yeah. But even in a defeat, and like, so we just saw the Oliver Larkin campaign in Florida. Unfortunately, he got clobbered by like 15 points or something like that, even though there was a ton of work that went into it. There was a phone bank that DSA did in partnership with Hassan Piker, like a night or two prior. I think it was the Sunday prior to the election, where 120,000 people made phone calls. There is a 100% chance that was somebody's first ever phone bank, and that broke down a wall for them. They got engaged, they volunteered for the first time ever, and probably, sorry, I'm kind of getting really loud, but like probably one of the biggest impediments to getting involved in these kind of campaigns is never having done it before and not knowing what to expect. So
I mean, and like I actually went into that. I didn't end up doing phone banking. I actually did realize that my disability did create a barrier for me to do it, given the fact that you need to read like the various things. And I did get overwhelmed. So I actually was one of those people. I had been wanting to do phone banking for Abdul.
I'm so proud of you.
And I went into the Zoom call for Oliver Larkin because I knew that he needed a bigger push. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. Hassan would be proud of me if I did the phone bank in my head. I know that's not really why, but
we know he's watching.
Yes, he cares. But in reality, I would say that even during Zoran Mamdani's campaign a year ago, I didn't know about phone banking. Like, I didn't even know about, like, this is the thing, is like these people, these content creators, I wouldn't even say politicians. I still feel like politicians and what they do is still pretty nerdy, but like content creators actually promoting this and exposing people to this and showing and giving examples of how you can participate, especially if you're like me who lacks accessibility. Like, I can't go, I mean, I probably could go Canvas, but that would be a hassle, right? I don't know if we said that. I'm actually legally blind, so there is some barriers there to me actually helping out and volunteering. But Hassan has actually opened my eyes to how many other things I could do. I could go to the offices and do all the like bundling of all of the stuff, or I could do phone banking, or I could do just like helping out with probably technical or administrative qualities. You know, there's so much.
How about phone banking with a partner? Like, I mean, or canvassing with a partner if you're not alone.
Right. Like, yeah, that's a possibility. I mean, keep in mind.
I know.
But yes, that is a possibility. If I am passionate enough about someone, that is a possibility. And honestly, Oliver Larkin was one of those. I really do think that, I hope he becomes like a spokesperson for the DSA. I think he has recently said that he is interested in doing that. So it'd be really cool. But like, yeah, I mean, keep in mind, I went from a year and a half ago being a total normie lib to now even seriously considering doing a phone bank. I mean, heck, that's improvement, right? Yeah. And you can thank Hassan Piker for that. I had no clue that any of this existed before him. So people can be critical of him in all different ways, and I think it's valid to be, just like anybody else. But like, this is important. Content creation is actually important work, which is why I actually am pretty harsh on content creators to actually step up and do the right thing, and not in like a pedantic, word policing way, but more in like, we need to uplift others and just be better whenever possible. So, because it means a lot.
we have about 3 minutes left, and like we got to talk about Angie Nixon.
Yes.
So Angie Nixon was a bit of a surprise to some people, and I would be lying if I was to say that I was not one of them. But I was one of them. I was very surprised that like somebody could run a campaign in Florida and knock off the establishment. It tells, and first off, she's amazing. She's like this. She's a state legislator who has experience running campaigns, which matters significantly. And she essentially knocked off the establishment Democrat, a very well-funded Alexander Vindman.
She was outspent 16-1. She didn't even make $1 million in her campaign, and he spent 16 million. So
yeah, do you want to talk about her?
No, you guys, you know more. I'm just saying, I just wanted to add that component of how much she was outspent and yet still kicked ass.
Yeah, well, anyway, she did, and she's like one of these people who is like, I had no idea how good her game was. Like, she is somebody who has like there's this incredible image of her screaming in a bullhorn, like trying to sort of like make a lot of waves on television in the legislature, against these like voter repression acts that they have
within the
on.
last year she was arrested for protesting against the gerrymandering that happened in Florida just within the last few months. So last few months or last year, I don't remember how long ago, but
it's recent.
Yeah, this isn't like a long time ago. This woman is out there doing the work, and people appreciate it.
One of the biggest vibes, because I get this sort of like radical energy from her. She's got an amazing South Florida accent. Like, oh my God, I love her so much. And then I'm not trying to fall in love with politicians, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
But also like the energy that she generally gives off. Like if you look at her TikToks or whatever, like kind of cringe mom. Like it's very, very kind of fascinating how this sort of like how many lanes she hits, which is, I think, like a plus.
Yeah, she appeals to kind of everybody all at once. Yeah, and I don't usually I find a lot of like rally speeches. I don't put rallies on my stream, and I find them kind of boring. But she, during her election speech, I put the whole thing on my stream and was like, you guys need to watch this. You need to see someone speak publicly and do it well and stand for what she believes. And you need to get behind Angie Nixon. So
it also says one other thing, like beyond her. It shows me, and I've been saying this for years, like there is opportunity to, at the very least, if you can't win like general elections, you can at least like take over the infrastructure that exists in those states, like Florida, like Louisiana, like some of these like red states. Get it, essentially set it up so that you defeat the establishment and make that situation, that dynamic, be it engaged with the official party apparatus or not, have a much more working class approach. And I think that's something that is a lot more possible in red states than it is blue states, because blue states have these like incredible strongholds, like fortresses, where they prevent a lot of the possibilities from happening and moving forward. I lived in Louisiana for most of my life. The Democratic Party there is a joke. I live in Virginia now, and the Democratic Party is a monster. It is just so bureaucratic and so messy. So, like, I do think that there is opportunity in some of these red states to kind of move the ball forward. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, she seems like the one to do it.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And, like, she might not even win. She probably won't, and that's okay. It's like, the thing is that she needs, her kind of politics needs to be the new standard until the money interests finally have to bow and be like, all right, I guess we gotta let some of y'all live and maybe not, you know, give some resources and make people's lives materially better. Like, even if the Democratic Party needs to make a decision as a whole, it's like, do we want to provide material good, and that means that maybe I won't be, you know, get as much money as a lobbyist after my political career is over, or do I just want to be nothing? And win or lose, like, we just need more people like her running for office to prove, like, no, this is just the new standard. This is the new line that the bar you have to cross.
Get out of here. Go be a Republican, John Fetterman, and you know all.
Oh my gosh, you threatened it, and now you're not leaving. Ugh, just go away.
Yeah. Well, any last thoughts before we bounce, Lisa? Where can we find you?
I am good. Hi, I'm
Plug
Lisa.
things.
You can find me on Twitch. Lisa is Learning weekdays at 9 a.m. until whenever I feel like stopping streaming. Usually it's around 3 p.m. Eastern. So, but yeah, that is what I do each day. We kind of just go over and break down. I watch a lot of Fox News, which is fun. I laugh at how thirsty they are for socialists, and we just like kind of break down. I try my best to make my stream a place where like people can be new to the content and kind of be understanding propaganda, understand the narratives that are going on in our media, and understand why people are thinking the way that they think. So that's what I do.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk with you, Lisa. Thank you so much
for having me.
Absolutely. Robert, anything before we go?
Nope, that's great. Just thanks for coming by.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for listening. We love you. Bye-bye. This is WHWLP New Orleans 102.3.